Hey guys, coming to you with another hair tutorial today because a lot of people are having trouble making hair, and I thought that I would share what I've learned over the last year or so making hair. And I just want to disclose that I am using Marmoset 4 that was released today. I believe it was released today, so it's got ray tracing. You can use ray tracing in it now. You have a lot of control over the ray tracing, as well as a lot of other things, which is really awesome. One of the things that I am definitely using is the subdivide with geometrical reduction, which is something really cool. Because it just helps with the look of the hair, because sometimes you don't get the smoothness you want in your renders when it comes to the hair. And since I'm only using this as a still image render and nothing like real time for video games or anything like that, I'm just using it for rendering. I'll show you what it looks like without the subdivs. So it's not too different. I mean, there's still some curve issues that could be changed, but I'll show you how to fix that in just a second. But I'm using subdivs to help smoothen out the hair a bit more, give it a little bit better life. If you want to, you can also kind of crank up the resolution to kind of give it a little bit more curvature. But yeah, I'm using that with high geometrical reduction. And yeah, if you don't know who this character is, it's actually a character from Mist XG who's on ArtStation. I'll leave a link how you can get to his ArtStation, or her ArtStation, and they do awesome characters. This is the one that I'm working on right now so I already have like the mask and everything like that kind of already modeled out. I also have the inside of the mask as well, which I thought it was pretty fun to work on. Here's the inside of the mask, and that's going to be also used as well. So yeah, just been working on that over the weekend and on my spare time, kind of just slowly getting it done. This is all just like me messing around, so all this like extruded stuff is not going to be a part of it. I'm going to do something with that. But yeah, so the hair. Let's get on to modeling the hair. Maybe leave a timestamp in the video so that you guys can just skip to the hair tutorial part. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to show you a little trick that's going to help you make hair a little bit more easy. So this is going to require you to need two things. It's going to need you to have your textures already made. I already have my textures made. So if I open up my actual texture, this is my texture right here. I made this in Hair Strand Designer, and it is flipped upside down, but that's strictly for Zbrush purposes. So that I can see what I'm doing inside of Zbrush. But you're going to need something like this, and it's going to kind of need this layout where it's got thick to I got like 3 thick variations with 3 kind of like thinner variations, and then you got the other ones in between. You don't necessarily have to use all of these, but you're going to use a bit of these to help make your hair a little bit more better. All right. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go over to our geometry. And we're going to set this to just a white color so we can see, and then here we go. So what we're going to do on this polyplane is we're actually going to turn this into a tube. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to make polymesh 3D, and then I'm going to go and select a cylinder. So this cylinder is going to have you can put as many segments through here as you want, but I would usually use like a lot of segments, especially if you're doing like long hair. And don't worry about the caps. You can just get rid of those, but usually you're going to have a lot of segments through here, and that's going to help you with like dragging out the hair and getting a little bit more resolution. Now you don't have to do this. Like if you're having short hair, you can kind of shrink down the resolution a little bit so that it helps. But I'm gonna do this fairly high so that we get some, because we're working with long hair, so we're just gonna do this very high. All right. And now what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to turn each one of these into a polygroup. Okay. So we need to delete the caps and turn each one of these hair segments into a polygroup. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over to here, and we're going to go over to polygroups, group by normal, and we're going to delete the end caps because we just want the center. And actually, let me turn off this outline real quick. It's kind of disruptive. All right, and then let's delete the end caps. All right, so you can delete hidden, or you can go to geometry, modify, delete hidden. Okay, delete hidden, and this is going to give us our hair, the thickness of our hair. Now, if you're doing something that's like low poly, you might want to actually go in here and just delete half the cylinder and maybe start off with something like this. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of like delete half of this, and we're gonna stick with half a cylinder. All right, that looks pretty decent. All right, so we're just gonna again delete hidden, and now we're going to go into our Z modeler tools, BZM, and we're just going to select rows of polygons in twos, and we're gonna make that its own polygroup. Okay. If you want to do that quicker, you just hold down space over a polygon, and you just select polygroup. And then you just keep tapping Alt while holding down the left click, and that will alternate between polygroups. Okay, so if you want to change the way a polygroup looks, if it's too close to that one, you just hit Alt and change it into another one while you're holding left click. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for this, and you'll see why I'm doing this in just a second. Okay. This is a weird way. I know what you guys are thinking. This is a really weird way to do hair, but it's the fastest way that I've realized to do hair. And also gives you a lot more coverage. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. And you can also shape this if you want. You can make this a little bit longer. You can make it maybe thinner. Something that really catches your eye when it comes to that. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Z plugin. We're going to go to our UV master tools. We're going to select polygroups, and we're going to unwrap this. We need to unwrap this immediately because once we start placing these, we want these to already be unwrapped. We want them to already have the texture on there, all right? And you're going to open up your modeling program. It can be Blender, it could be anything, as long as it's compatible with like a GoZ function or a GoB. It doesn't even have to have a GoZ function, but you need to take this into a modeling program to get better UVs on it, because even though Zbrush has a good decent UV, the layout for the UVs aren't that good. So as you can see right here, this is our UV layout right now. Turn off the bump, turn that back on. You can see that it's not really doing a great job when it comes to the UV layout. They're not rectangle, they're not fully rectangle, and they're not actually sitting where the texture should be. So you got to go in there, and of course you can do this inside of here, but it's just a lot faster to just get it done very, very quickly inside of your program. All right, so we're just going to hit Go Z, and that's going to Go Z that over to our program, and we'll just wait for that to start up. Okay, shouldn't take too long to start up. Okay, here it is. Now, our object didn't import, so what we're going to do is we're just going to hit that again. We're just going to go Z, and we're just going to make sure that that goes inside there. All right. Now, again, whatever program you're doing this on, you want to make sure that these are rectangular. Okay, so we're just going to select all these. And with this nifty function, we do have a rectangle, or with this program, we do have a rectangular function. It's the program that I'm using is Modo right now. We're going to go to rectangle, and we're just going to make sure that those are all rectangle. And then we're just going to pack these. Okay, we're going to pack these vertical. Now you have to make sure that they're all facing the same way. Sometimes when you pack these, they don't orientate the right way. So what we're going to do is we're just going to select the ends. As you can see, some of the faces on the bottom right here are selected. So we need to make sure over here we know which ones they are, and we need to flip them in the right direction. So I know that they're these two right here. So those two are the ones that we need to flip, and then these ones can, you know, go in the other direction. But there we go. Now these are both flipped in the right way. We also need to make sure that we are bringing in our image. So we're just going to go to load image, and I already have my image. It's right here, and we're just going to load that up. We're also going to make sure that it is a part of our background. So we're just going to go over here, make sure that's a part of our background. And again, remember that ours is upside down, so we'll be flipping that around afterwards, or you'll see what I'm going to do. All right, so we're just going to take the one that are here. Now remember that each one of these polygroups are their own hair strands, so we need to make sure that we are covering these individually. So we're just going to go here, and we're just going to make sure it could be a little bit outside. The hairs can be a little bit outside. That's not going to hurt it too much. Just make sure that you're not capturing too much of it outside, or else it'll look weird. All right, so we're also going to do that here, and I'm just going to give it some variation by grabbing this and then moving it over here and making sure that the end pieces are matching with the ends. Okay. Do the same thing for right here. And shrink it down. It's a little bit tedious, but it's perfectly fine. And this last one, you can do whatever with it. But just making sure that you have some variation in your textures. Okay, so now that we got those mapped out, we can actually send this back over to Zbrush. So I'm just going to go and hit Go Z again inside of this program, and it's going to bring it back. Now if we go over here and we morph it, you can see that now it has our UV set up. Okay, I'm just going to hit Quick Save. So Control S on my keyboard is what my Quick Save is. Now we're going to go to our texture map and make sure that we load our texture in. Okay, so I'm not going to load the one that's upside down. I'm going to load the one that that's right side up. The thing about this is that it goes upside down when you export. It creates a new texture and it puts it upside down. So this is how our stuff will look. Now if we actually do a transparent, you can see that now we have all of our hair pieces and they're all transparent. Okay. Now this is our thick hair. This is what we're going to do with our thick hair. Our other hair is going to be different. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this off as a brush, and it's going to be facing in the direction that I'm going to drag this out. Okay, so I'm just going to face the tips down here towards the camera, and I'm going to hit create an insert brush, and I'm going to say new. This is going to create an unwrapped tube that we're going to be using. All right, so we're just going to go here, and we're going to go save as, and you can save it anywhere you want, and I'm just going to call it the geotube_01 brush. Okay, geotube_01. So what this is going to do, again, is it's going to allow us to drag this out, and it's going to already have the texture applied as long as we're dragging it out on an object that is already unwrapped. Because I've noticed that if you do that on an object that isn't unwrapped, you can get some pretty nasty problems. Okay, so I'm going to use this character that I've been working on. I'm going to use this head as an example of what I'm going to be doing with this. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to append this tube to this object, so because it's going to make it a little bit easier just to place the hair. Just going to append that, and it should be down there somewhere. So we're going to select it, and we're just going to go in here, and we're just going to place the hair on this character. Now, if the reason why it's like rotating weird is because the hair is all the way down here. If you don't want it to do that, you can just bring it up here somewhere so you can rotate around it. Makes it a little bit easier to work with. Usually after I drag out the first hair tube, I usually just get rid of that because it does get really annoying. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to place our hair however you want. So we're just going to drag this out, and now we have our tube of hair that we got, and we can actually sit here and we can now place it just like we did in the other tutorials, and we can actually kind of rotate it towards the head. Okay, maybe even shrink it a little bit. And again, you can get rid of segments if you want, if you think that they're too high poly. All right. So I'm just going to hit solo, which is Control C on my keyboard, and I'm just going to get rid of this one. We don't need that one anymore. Delete hidden. The reason why we're getting rid of that one is because it's gonna mess it up when you export it and you're like, where are all these extra polygons coming from? All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is make sure that the roots are inside of the head, and we're going to just shape this bad boy up. So we're just going to go over here to our taper, and you can taper this up right now, but what I like to do is I like to use the bend curve, and we're just going to kind of start to shape this up. Okay, just like this, and we want to flatten this one out so that it kind of matches with the head. Okay, and then you can also kind of taper that in, or you can drag it out. You can also do the same thing with the middle one. You can just kind of taper it out and taper this one in. And again, we want to have some transparency on this, right? So there we go. We have our transparency, and we also have the variations because we made, variated textures. Okay, and that's essentially what I did. I just kind of went in here, made a tube, and then just started to place it. Now I'm going to show you again something really cool that's going to allow us to keep doing this. So we're just going to keep dragging this out and placing it wherever. So we can just drag this one out now. Okay. It's going to be a little bit hard to see, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually turn on double. You can actually do that if you go into your visibility, where are you, display properties, yeah, and turn on double right here, display properties. That way it just makes it a little bit easier to start placing this. And then what you can do for this one is you can do the same thing, but this one's going to be longer, so we can actually kind of drag this out, and we can kind of drag it over. And again, we can flatten this one to the head so it kind of like doesn't bubble out as much. And this is what I did to create the hair for the character, and it's giving it more variation and just over in general making it look a little bit more like anime hair. So we're gonna do this, and we're just gonna kind of increase this so that we can bring out the root a little bit more, kind of give it a little bit more of a kind of, I don't know, feel. And again, this is just our thick strands of hair. Okay. And maybe we can bring this one out, and then maybe we want to like twist it so the orange one will allow us to twist. It can give you some pretty cool results, and you can also flatten this out a little bit more. Maybe flatten this one as well. Just kind of giving you that kind of like extra control. Just like this. And if you want, you can actually undo that. I'm going to undo the twist, and then I'm going to get rid of one of these, and if we twist it, it's going to get even like it's going to go up even higher. So just go like here, and then maybe add another one, and then just twist this one so it's like more towards the outside, and then we can twist this one a little bit. I don't know, just giving it a little bit more kind of like weird variation. We can also kind of like make this one a little bit more tapered. Okay, so this is all well and good and everything, but what happens if we want to keep on layering this? Well, I keep these ones like this simply because it's just a little bit easier to work with. A lot of people will tell you, don't do that, but it doesn't really hurt the model because it's still kind of simulating the hair. So what I'm going to do now, in order to get more variation, is what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this. Okay, we're going to duplicate this, and we're going to essentially use this as our kind of like scattering. So I'm going to go and Control B, and we're going to say unweld groups border. That's why the groups are already on there. So if we actually take off the textures, texture, that's why these groups are here, so that we can unweld them and start to move them around. So if we actually go in and hit Control B to unweld groups border, and you can also do that inside of your modified geometry border, unweld groups border, then what you can do is you can start using move to topological and start moving these around to get more variation in your hair. So now I'm just kind of lightly moving this up and away, and we're starting to get a little bit more variation. Again, you can also go in here and re-UV map these to just have like more variation between these, because they still have the same UV maps, right? So you can now go in and you can like say, well, I want to actually go in and I want to add some more variation to these. So you can shift these in your UVs, and that's going to allow you to have just a little bit more variation in your maps, just like this. And we already know what this is going to look like because it is being placed with the texture on it. So now what we can do is we can grab these ones, and then we can start moving these. Just like that. And that's essentially what I did. And then you can start, like, you know, kind of moving these around, getting different links, getting different variated links. And it's the same thing for the flyaways. If you want to make the flyaways, you just kind of duplicate these off. Okay. What you want to do is duplicate these off, Control Shift D to duplicate them. And since they're already unwelded, you just kind of want to go in there and you just kind of want to bring them out even further. You know, have them kind of have these ones more kind of outside, kind of like, because they're flyaways, right? So you're going to want to have these just a little bit more further and kind of chaotic than the other ones. So we're just kind of layering this over, and then what we're going to do is we're going to bring this in, and this is going to be our flyaways. So I'm going to hit Go Z on this, and I'm going to name it differently so that we don't have any issues with it. So we're just going to call this the Flyaways. Sounds like a band name. Probably is. And then we're just going to hit Go Z. So that's going to bring this object inside of here. And we can go over to the textures. Make sure we're in polygon mode and make sure that our background is right where it needs to be. So about here. There we go. And we want to bring these all into the flyaway area, so this area right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to hit fit, make sure that it's per island, and that's going to stack them all on top of each other, and then we can just go over here and make sure that this is our flyaways. And then we can Go Z this back over, so we can go over and hit Go Z and Go Z that back over, and then you can see that these are going to change into our flyaways. And as you can see, the flyaway is going to get even larger, and they're going to be more extravagant. But that's it right there. That's how you do the hair. That's how I did my hair, and I just kept doing that. And if you notice, like if I go over to the actual hair itself, you'll see that this hair is very low poly. In terms of like this one's only 5,000. So if we undo this, you can see that this one's only 5,000, right? And usually hair is a lot, but of course it doesn't go all the way up to her head. But if we actually turn off the texture for this, you can see it's all just tubes. That's what I did for the character. I just made tubes, and then the tubes are unwrapped to this texture. It's the same thing I did with this. Just made a tube and unwrapped it, and then drug it out, and then did that. Of course, you can lay these all over the same one. Doesn't matter as long as it is covering it, right? So that's how I did it, right? I hope this helped you out. I hope this is going to help you out with your game ready hair a little bit better. I know how hard it is to make hair. I know how frustrating it is. So this is definitely something that helped me out when I learned it, and hopefully it'll help you guys out. All right. Thank you guys very much. Take care.